Hey, welcome back to Grease Monkey Videos. There's a pretty substantial train derailment being reported in East Palestine, Ohio, they call it. And this happened a couple nights ago. It says local officials in East Palestine, Ohio have ordered roughly 2,000 residents, about half the town's population, to evacuate. What happened was this train traveling from Illinois to Pennsylvania derailed, and they're saying that the National Transportation Safety Board is saying that there were mechanical issues, and once those mechanical issues were detected, an emergency braking system took over. But we're going to watch some of these news articles. I always question, what's really going on here. Initially, when it happened, this is like 3 nights ago, 2.5, 3 nights ago, when it appeared on the nightly news, they said, well, the authorities are saying, yeah, stuff's going in the air, but it's not going to be harmful to folks in the immediate area. The ground is okay. The water supply is okay. And now they're evacuating everybody in a 1-mile area. So let's take a look at some of these news reports.
Breaking news out of Ohio tonight. An urgent evacuation notice for people living near the scene of a train derailment. And there's growing concern there that one of the rail cars could explode at any minute, sending shrapnel flying up a mile away in all directions. No one was hurt when this originally happened, and some 50 cars derailed in East Palestine. This on Friday night. Schools and village offices are going to be closed tomorrow, all as a precaution.
Apparently 5 of the 100 cars were carrying vinyl chloride, which is used in making PVC, which is polyvinyl chloride, and all this stuff's being spewed into the air. It's hard to believe that it wouldn't be dangerous, especially if you're downwind of all this smoke right here. But what's interesting to me is that, initially they said, hey, everything's fine. Nobody needs to go anywhere. Now, all of a sudden, you can't flee fast enough. And if you stay around, they say that they're going to arrest you. And if you have children and you're staying around, then they're going to get your children. It says officials are begging residents to leave the area around the burning derailed train in East Palestine, Ohio. This, in case you're wondering where East Palestine is, here's a pretty handy little map right here. It's right near the Pennsylvania line. So there is East Palestine, and this is where this wreckage is supposed to be happening. So they're begging people to leave. It says it's a catastrophic tanker failure. It says the threat escalated as a massive inferno burned for a third night on Sunday from the Norfolk Southern train carrying hazardous materials. Officials implored those still within a mile radius of the crash site to evacuate immediately as concerns grew about air and water quality. And it would be concerning, especially, with all that smoke in the air, and then it rains, and then it goes down into the ground, and then it seeps, it percolates into the groundwater, and then the water treatment plants pick it up, and then they're pumping that stuff out into the system, because I don't think there's any water treatment process to get rid of vinyl chloride in your water. There's a high probability, this guy says, of toxic gas release or an explosion. Please, for your own safety, remove your families from danger. Now, if you're not free to stay in the danger zone in America, then you're not free. And I understand if people have children, they should probably think about, hey, it's probably best for the children if we just get out of here. But you never want government intrusion. As soon as you give them the key to your door and they can come on in and say, hey, you got your children here. This is child endangerment. We're going to take you in and we're going to apprehend your children. You got a bad scenario going on there. I'd rather have dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery any day of the week. The drastic change was detected Sunday in a chemical, vinyl chloride, that officials had been concerned about. Actually, initially, they hadn't been concerned about it. If you look at the nightly news from 3 days ago, Lester Holt was saying, well, authorities are saying it's not a big deal. Everybody stay where you're at, and it's, there's no danger. Now, all of a sudden, there's a danger, which makes me think, okay, why is there a danger now, but there wasn't a danger early on when there was way more smoke in the air? Breathing high levels of vinyl chloride can make someone pass out or die. That's a pretty interesting range. If they don't get fresh air, the Ohio Department of Health said the man-made chemicals used to make PVC. If a water supply is contaminated, this guy says, the National Cancer Institute says, vinyl chloride can enter a household air when the water is used for showering, cooking, and laundering. While air and water quality remains stable on Sunday, quote, things can change at any moment, this guy says. And it says right here, residents who stay face arrest. Anyone who refuses to leave the evacuation zone. This makes me scratch my head right here. And it's like, All right, what's really going on? They've created an evacuation zone. They want about 2,000 people to leave. 500 people said that they're not going to, and now they're saying if you stay, you're going to be arrested. So it says anyone who refuses to leave the evacuation zone could be arrested on a misdemeanor charge of misconduct in an emergency, said the sheriff. Oh, posted on a Facebook page. Let's actually see what this Facebook page says. If there are children in a household that doesn't evacuate, quote, further charges of endangering children will apply also, the sheriff said. So it says right here, the 1 mile evacuation zone in East Palestine is in effect and will be enforced. You may be arrested for 2917.13 misconduct in an emergency, which is a 4th degree misdemeanor if only adults are in the house, and a 1st degree misdemeanor if children are in the house. Further charges of endangering children will apply also. There's a high probability of toxic gas release and or explosion. Again, we will be enforcing the evacuation zone. Please, for your own safety, remove your families from danger. Thank you. And then it says over here in this Communist News Network article, no one can return. Residents will not be allowed to return to the 1 mile evacuation zone for the foreseeable future. Quote, as of 8 a.m. this morning, the 1 mile evacuation zone will be enforced and you will not be able to enter the evacuation zone. Those outside the zone are asked to stay indoors and avoid travel to keep the roadways clear for emergency services. This police shift communications hub was evacuated also. Schools are closed. The mechanical issue was detected, the NTSB says. The crew was alerted by an alarm shortly before the derailment indicating a mechanical issue. An emergency brake was applied, but about 10 cars carrying the hazardous materials derailed. There was another report that said 5, so 10 of the 100 cars, they say, were carrying vinyl chloride.
Once the scene is safe, the 10 hazardous material cars involved in the derailment will be moved to temporary staging areas for further damage assessment. For the safety and protection of our investigators today, the drone team did a full scene drone mapping of the derailment scene in lieu of having to do a walk-around assessment since the scene is still not safe. This information will allow the NTSB to create a diagram to verify the train consist, which is the document that identified the number of rail cars and the commodities those cars were carrying. The team secured the locomotive data recorder data today. They also were able to get a forward and inward-facing camera video and audio recordings today. We will conduct a preliminary review of this data on scene to start the development of a timeline. The data will then be sent to the NTSB's vehicle data recorder lab in Washington, D.C. for a complete evaluation and analysis. We have obtained 2 videos which show preliminary indications of mechanical issues on one of the rail car axles. We are working to identify which rail car experienced the potential mechanical issue for further examination. If any other members of the public have any photos or videos of the derailment, we ask you to send them to witness@ntsb.gov. That's witness@ntsb.gov. The team did crew interviews today. We can say the crew did receive an alarm from a wayside defect detector shortly before the derailment indicating a mechanical issue. Then an emergency brake application initiated. Additional investigative activities the team is doing today. We have requested numerous records from Norfolk Southern. These include track inspection records, locomotive and rail car inspections and maintenance records, train crew records, and qualifications. And the track team today conducted a 1 mile walkthrough of the track outside the hot zone, the unsafe area, and they were able to identify the point of derailment. This will be the NTSB's last on-scene press briefing. The on-scene portion of the investigation will continue as long as necessary, so the investigative team will be here continuing to gather evidence as necessary.
So there is a 1 mile evacuation zone. Anybody who stays within that zone gets arrested. If they have children, then they'll be cited for child endangerment and the kids will probably be taken away. And it does look like a dangerous place to be. I mean, I wouldn't want to be near that. But the question is there something else here that they're not telling us? Because we know Fake Stream, CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media is telling us about this. They're giving us their spin on it. We're seeing the reports from, federal and local agencies, but we don't really know what's going on or really what caused that or what's going on behind the scenes. So if you know anything in the East Palestine area, and you got information, just leave the info in the comment section below or contact me at contact@highimpactflix.com and let's try to get to the bottom of it. I appreciate you guys joining. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com, and I will see you in the next video.